After dinner, I was in that warm, sleepy haze that only comes after a full plate of turkey, too many glasses of wine, and the cozy hum of family chatter in the background. I was slouched on the couch, half listening to my little cousins argue about who got the better Lego set, when I got a notification on my phone. I almost ignored it. I wish I had. It was my bank. A series of charges. All familiar stores. Target, Amazon, Macy's, GameStop, even one from a fancy candle shop I'd never stepped foot in. My stomach dropped. I started scrolling. It was all the gifts. The ones I thought we'd all pitched in for. Hey, I said, maybe a bit too sharply, holding up my phone. Why are all the charges under my card? My mom looked up from the table, blinking like she didn't understand the question. My sister paused mid-sip of hot cocoa. My dad didn't even flinch. He just leaned back in his chair, patted his belly and said with a grin, "We took a vote. You lost." I stared at him. I honestly thought he was joking. "You're the one with the stable job now," my sister added, shrugging. It made sense. Stable job. I repeated. I just started 2 months ago. I'm still paying off my student loans. Dad waved his hand like that was a minor detail. "You're doing well. It's Christmas. We all benefit. Consider it your gift to the family." I looked around the room. The twinkling lights. The pile of wrapping paper. Everyone smiling like nothing was wrong. Like I hadn't just been blindsided into dropping over $1,000 for a family that didn't even ask me. No one even asked. I stood up and went to the kitchen. I needed space, or maybe just a moment where I didn't feel like a walking wallet. My cousin followed me in and muttered, "It was Mom's idea, but Grandpa voted too." Sorry, dude. That somehow made it worse. They planned it. Behind my back. Voted. Like it was some kind of game. Like I wasn't even part of the conversation. I left early. Said I had a headache. No one stopped me. Not even when I packed up my half-finished pie and walked out into the freezing night. That was the last family Christmas I went to. I didn't talk to them for a while after that. Not in a dramatic, slamming doors kind of way, just silence. I let their texts sit unread, skipped the family group chat, muted my mom's daily forwarded memes. I think they thought I'd cool off in a week. Maybe 2. But something had shifted in me that night. It wasn't just the money. It was the way no one thought I deserved to say. Like I was the default donor, like being the one with a job meant I owed them something. It took 3 months for someone to actually bring it up. My sister called out of nowhere. "You're really still mad about Christmas?" I was sitting in my apartment, eating leftover ramen. "I'm not mad," I said. "I'm just not interested in being used." There was a pause. "We didn't mean it like that. You voted. Without me." Another pause. "Okay," she said finally, "that was shitty. But we just thought you'd understand. You're the responsible one." That word, responsible, hit like a slap. I didn't want to be the responsible one if it meant being everyone's silent ATM. She apologized, kind of. I accepted, kind of. But I didn't go to Easter. I didn't go to Dad's birthday either. I sent a card. They noticed. In May, Mom called and said they were planning a smaller, more equal Christmas this year. Everyone would buy one gift, draw names from a hat. A reset, she called it. I said I'd think about it. And I did. I thought about it every time I checked my bank account. Every time I walked past the candle shop with the overpriced pine-scented nonsense I paid for. Every time I remembered how no one even thanked me until I made a scene. So yeah, I'm still thinking. Summer came and went. I traveled a bit, first time in years. Nothing fancy, just me, a carry-on, and some peace. I hiked in Oregon. I ate pastries in Montreal. I watched strangers celebrate birthdays in restaurants I didn't have to split the bill for. It was the kind of quiet freedom I didn't know I needed. In September, Dad emailed me. Not texted, emailed. Subject line, "Let's talk, son." The body was short. Said he missed me. Said Christmas wouldn't be the same without me. Said he was sorry if things got out of hand. That last part made me laugh. Got out of hand, like a surprise knife fight at dinner or a cat knocking over a lamp. Not a full-blown ambush funded by my bank account. Still, it was something. I didn't reply. Not then. I let it sit like I let everything else sit. Long enough for them to feel the empty space I left behind. Then in November, a box showed up at my door. No note. Just a return label from my parents' address. Inside was a candle. The same overpriced one I'd unknowingly bought the previous year. But this time, it had a yellow sticky note stuck to the lid. We all pitched in. We voted again. This time you won. I stood there holding it, the weight of it strange in my hands. It smelled like fake pine and smoke and something almost like forgiveness. I didn't cry or anything. I'm not sentimental like that. But I laughed. A real quiet, tired laugh. Because maybe, just maybe, they got it. Christmas isn't fixed. The trust isn't magically rebuilt. But I might go this year. Might even bring a gift. Just one. The one I chose to give. December crept in slowly, wrapped in cold wind and soft evenings. I didn't RSVP, didn't commit. I think they were all holding their breath a little, waiting to see if I'd show. On Christmas Eve I packed a small duffel. One sweater, one bottle of wine, and one wrapped gift. A book I knew my sister would love. Nothing flashy. Just something thoughtful. Chosen by me. The drive was quiet. The roads empty. I pulled into my parents' driveway just as the sky turned that soft navy blue, the color right before night falls completely. Lights were strung across the porch. The inflatable reindeer still had a slow leak, its head flopped to one side. Classic. When I stepped inside, no one rushed me. No dramatic greetings. Just smiles, a little surprise, and room made at the table without a single word. Dinner was simpler this year. No piles of extravagant gifts. No giant receipts disguised as generosity. Just laughter, plates being passed, and a lot of checking in. Real conversations. Fewer jokes at my expense. After we ate, we drew names from a little tin box. My cousin got mine. He gave me socks, warm, stupidly soft, clearly picked out with actual effort. I almost teared up over socks. Later that night, I found Dad in the kitchen cleaning up. He didn't say anything at first. Just handed me a dish towel and we worked in silence. Then he said, without looking at me, "We got caught up last year. It wasn't right. I didn't see it until you left." I nodded. "I'm glad you came back," he added. I folded the towel. "I'm glad I did too." It wasn't a dramatic reunion. No hugs with background music. Just a quiet kind of repair. The kind that takes time. The kind that actually lasts. Sometimes healing doesn't look like fireworks. It looks like two people doing dishes on Christmas night, finally seeing each other clearly. The next morning was still, almost sacred. Snow had fallen lightly overnight, dusting the porch and yard in a clean, unbroken white. I stood by the window with a mug of coffee, watching the world before it woke up. It felt like the house was holding its breath, peaceful for once. My little cousin wandered in, still in pajamas, holding the book I'd brought. She didn't say anything, just sat next to me on the couch and started reading. That moment, small, quiet, unnoticed by everyone else, hit harder than anything anyone could have said. People began to stir. Mom made waffles. Someone put on the same old Christmas playlist with the worn-out speakers that clipped on high notes. And it felt, okay. Familiar but not forced. Not like before. At one point, my sister came over, the one who used to roll her eyes at everything sentimental. She gave me a weird little smile and said, "Thanks for the book. You remembered I liked that author." "Of course," I said. "Wasn't that the point?" She bumped her shoulder against mine. "I'm glad you're here." It was a simple sentence, but it landed. Heavy in the best way. No one brought up last year. Not directly. But I noticed little changes. Everyone paid for their own Secret Santa gifts. The dinner wasn't extravagant, but no one complained. And when someone joked about me footing the bill again, it was immediately shut down by 3 different people. I felt it, the shift. Respect where there used to be assumption. Effort where there used to be entitlement. When I left that evening, Mom hugged me a little longer than usual. Dad walked me out to the car, snow crunching under his boots. As I opened the door, he said, "We'll keep doing better." "I know," I said. And for the first time in a long time, I believed it. Sometimes the real gift isn't the one under the tree. It's the one where people grow. Where they try. Where they meet you halfway, not because they have to, but because they finally want to. That Christmas, I didn't leave feeling drained. I left full. The weeks after that Christmas felt different. Lighter somehow. I went back to my routine, back to work, back to quiet mornings and late dinners, but something inside had unclenched. It wasn't that everything was perfect now. There were still texts left unread too long, inside jokes I didn't always get, and the occasional passive-aggressive meme from Mom that made no sense. But the edge was gone. The quiet resentment I hadn't even realized I'd been carrying around for years, it had loosened its grip. In late January, my sister sent me a photo. It was my cousin, the same one who'd read beside me on Christmas morning, holding the book I gave her in front of her school's favorite book week poster. Her smile was huge. She'd written a little blurb underneath in pencil. "My cousin gave me this. He said it was special." He was right. I sat with that photo for a while. Sometimes we don't realize the small ripples we leave in someone else's life, the quiet way a gift or a decision or a moment can echo. Later that week, Dad called just to talk. No reason. No awkward pause before asking for a favor. Just, how's work? And did you ever fix that leaky sink? It felt normal. Honest. And I didn't flinch when I saw his name on the screen, which was new. I think the best part of healing is that it doesn't demand a show. It just asks that you stay. That you try. That you say yes when it matters, and no when it matters more. I still think about that first notification on my phone, the one that started all this. How it burned. How it cracked something open in me. I used to wish it hadn't happened. Now, I'm oddly grateful. Because sometimes the most expensive thing isn't the bill, it's the silence we keep to avoid confrontation. And sometimes the only way out is through. That Christmas taught me something I didn't know I needed to learn. You don't have to carry the whole damn sleigh just because no one else is stepping up. But if they do step up, if they try, maybe you let them back in. Carefully. Slowly. But open. Spring came early that year. The kind where the cold fades so quietly, you don't notice it's gone until you're walking outside with no jacket and the air smells like dirt and rain and second chances. I hadn't planned on visiting again so soon. But my mom called one Saturday in March, voice lighter than usual. We're having a barbecue next weekend, she said. No occasion. Just food. You should come. I hesitated. Not out of bitterness, it just felt strange, this sudden normal. Like we'd skipped a chapter and were pretending we knew how the story continued. But I said yes. The backyard looked exactly the same. Mismatched chairs, rusty grill, my uncle telling the same story he always tells about how he once met a guy who might have known someone from The Sopranos. Kids chasing each other around with juice boxes, music playing low through someone's phone speaker. And it hit me, this wasn't about making up for the past anymore. No one was walking on eggshells. No one was performing repentance. We had moved into something better. Effort without guilt, presence without pressure. At some point, Dad wandered over to where I was sitting on the deck, sipping a beer, watching the smoke curl off the grill. You ever think about last Christmas? He asked, not looking at me. I nodded. Yeah. Sometimes. Me too, he said. Then he paused. It's strange how easy it is to take the steady ones for granted. The ones who don't complain. I didn't say anything. I'm trying not to do that anymore. And I believed him. Not because he said it, but because since that day he'd been showing up in small, quiet ways that didn't need to be acknowledged. That's the thing about trust. You don't rebuild it with grand gestures. You build it like a campfire. Slowly, with care, making sure it doesn't go out when the wind shifts. Later, as the sky turned gold and everyone started packing up, my little cousin came up and slipped something into my hand. It was a crumpled drawing, me apparently holding a book with the words Cousin Hero written in bubble letters. I smiled and folded it into my jacket pocket. On the drive home, windows down, air warm, I realized something. The story wasn't about the betrayal anymore. It was about the return. It's been almost a year now. Sometimes I forget how it all started. The cold shock of that first bank notification, the quiet anger simmering in the middle of a crowded living room. It feels distant now, like something that happened to someone else. And maybe, in a way, it did. I'm not quite the same person I was back then. Not softer exactly, but clearer. Sharper in the right ways. This past week my dad sent me a photo. No caption. It was the old family recipe box. Wooden, chipped on the corner. Open to a yellowed card in my grandma's handwriting. Spiced apple bread, for special days. I stared at it for a while, then typed, "What's the occasion?" A minute later, his reply came, "No occasion. Just figured it was time to bake something right." That night I baked the bread myself. The smell filled my apartment like memory. I hadn't tasted it since I was a kid, feet dangling off the kitchen stool, fingers sticky with batter. I didn't realize how much I'd missed it until the first bite hit me with warmth and cinnamon and something I couldn't quite name. I wrapped half of it up, added a note, "Thanks for showing up this time," and mailed it to my parents' place. I didn't tell them it was coming. Some things don't need announcements anymore. There's a quiet kind of love that comes after the storm. Not flashy. Not loud. Just a steady hum of, "I'm here and I mean it." That's what we have now. And that's enough. The holidays came around again, but this time it was different. I felt no weight on my shoulders, no tension in my chest. There was no unspoken thing hanging over the dinner table. Just the simple act of being together. I showed up early this time, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. No grand gesture, no dramatic apology, just a desire to be part of the moment. I helped Mom set the table, chatted with my sister about her new project, and laughed at Dad's terrible jokes, the kind that only get funnier the more he tells them. The evening felt easy, natural, like the pieces of the puzzle had finally clicked into place. Gifts were exchanged, simple, thoughtful things. No credit cards were swiped behind anyone's back, no votes taken. Just a quiet understanding that we were there, fully present for each other. At some point during dessert, my little cousin tugged at my sleeve, her face glowing under the twinkling lights of the tree. She handed me a small box wrapped with a crooked bow. "Open it," she urged, her excitement infectious. Inside was a keychain. A small silver compass engraved with the words, "Find your way home." I couldn't help but smile, my throat tight with something I couldn't quite put into words. It was the simplest gift, the one that mattered most. A symbol of all the roads we'd traveled, the distance we'd closed, the paths we'd yet to walk together. I looked up at the room, at the people who had once taken so much from me and now had so much to give. They weren't perfect, none of us were, but we were learning to show up for each other in ways that actually mattered. As I left that night, it was with no regrets. No unanswered questions. Just peace. I didn't need to keep proving anything. I didn't need to carry the weight of a Christmas gone wrong anymore. Instead, I had something real. A family that was learning to do better. And I was finally home.